Hi, and welcome.
I'm Z.
And I'm Keith.
And we're going to tell you about the movie that we just watched. But first, a little bit of a heads up.
Some of the movies we watch deal with heavy subject matters.
In order to talk about these emotionally delicate things and the heavy subject matters that we sometimes cover, we had humor and crude language to add some levity and to process our own trauma.
If that doesn't feel fun or safe for you, we completely understand. Please take care of yourself first and foremost.
And we spoil the end of pretty much every movie that we watch.
Now you know. On with the show.
How did you do this?
Well, seeing as how I have no brains or legal expertise, and Ed here was losing all faith in the system, am I right?
Oh, yeah, completely no faith, no faith.
I just went up there and performed sexual favors. 634 blowjobs in 5 days. I'm really quite tired.
Hey.
Hi.
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 Okay.
Oh, Slars.
So Lars, oh my God. Fucking.
He may not be my favorite director.
Yeah. I mean, it was fine. This movie was fine. But I feel like when you're given a story to tell from, like, I feel like when it's a true story, it's really hard to, like, make it not that good. Unless you either stray really far from the story, or it's
I feel like people fuck it up all the time.
or it's like something that you're not. No, what I'm saying is, like, a big director, a big film. Like, I'm not saying it's always going to be good, but I feel like it's harder to fuck it up. Like, I don't know how to say this. If you're not the one writing it, or even if you are, like, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm just saying shit. What is okay? Because I feel like when, like, not like when someone is writing a book, or, like, not writing, adapting something from a book.
Yeah.
Because that can go wrong, because people will just do whatever the fuck they want. But if you're telling, like, an actual true story, sometimes it's hard to, like, if you're doing it correctly. Meaning, if you're, like, because there are times when it'll be, like, based on a true story, and then you find out that it's just bullshit. Like, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It's not based on a true story. It's just, like, they base the serial killer on an amalgam of other serial, and that's it.
Right.
Like, Silence of the Lambs is based on a true story in the same exact way. Like, right. Buffalo Bill is based on fucking Ed Gein.
Ed Gein is given so much.
I know. For having, like, I don't even know if he actually killed anyone.
Right.
He just, he liked a dead body. He liked skin. He loved nipples. Nipple belt. Like, that's really what seals the deal for me. As a
nipple belt.
Whatever. It doesn't matter.
He's no Joseph Mengele. Let's just say that.
That's fair.
Joseph. Excuse me. All due respect to the doctor. Right. Well, and I had a little moment, I guess it was early pandemic probably, where I was watching
disaster movies.
Not quite. It was similar, like the China Syndrome. Is one that's about a nuclear power plant. It's got Jane Fonda and oh shit, I think Kurt Russell was the cameraman, or maybe it's a baby Michael Douglas. But it's a similar thing where she's a reporter, a journalist, and she's doing this expose. She finds out that it's actually not very safe at all.
Yeah.
And like network. No, wait.
What?
Not the one with William Hurt.
Broadcast news,
That's broadcast news.
I think.
The one that's like, we're mad as hell, we're not going to take it anymore. That one.
Never seen it.
That one's wild and kind of great. And it's not. The only similarity really is it focuses on news media. But anyway.
Today we're talking about Erin Brockovich.
China Syndrome is a similar thing to this. And like, I feel like there was like, and like, I keep bringing up Silkwood, which I've never seen, but like is, another one of these that's like about an average lady who stumbles onto something.
Something more than average.
I don't know. I just wanted to bring those up because just to brag that I've seen
other movies.
Yeah.
Hot. Even though you said you haven't seen Silkwood.
Huh?
Even though you said you haven't seen Silkwood.
Correct.
You just wanted to talk about it. Just to prove that you knew about it. Yeah, Erin Brockovich. It's based on a true story. And seemingly the real Erin Brockovich says it's like very true to what actually, like, doesn't take a lot of liberties. I think she said she didn't flash her tits as much.
Interesting.
Well, not that she didn't flash her tits. It's just that she never actually, like, purposely, like, did that to, like, get anything. Like, it wasn't like
the waterboard.
Yeah, like she was like,
they're called boobs, Ed.
Yeah. Well, that's she says to Ed, which.
Right.
Oh, yeah. Oh, right. I thought I forgot what that was in reference to. But yeah, like. So that was not true. Also, she's dyslexic.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
That must have been not an issue dealing with a lot of legal documents.
Right, exactly, right. I'm like, oh my God, how did you? I think it's an interesting thing. Like, watching this, I was thinking last night in one of our breaks, possibly during the laughing fit where I nearly shit myself, unrelated to the movie. Keith just looked at me like Chucky, and I lost my fucking shit.
Literally. Couldn't find it.
It was so ridiculous. You just turned your head. You looked so. It was the creepiest shit I've ever seen in my life. And it was so fucking hilarious. Not saying a fucking.
It's one of my favorite things and one of these least favorite things. Yep. That's not what makes it my favorite thing. I just like doing it. I don't enjoy.
Yeah.
I'm not one of those partners that enjoys torturing their partner.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Some things I do.
Yeah. We have a what do you call it? Boundaries. And there are certain things that I
don't want to brag, but
it's funny. It's okay to torture me about.
It took me. It was very hard for me to break the habit, but I did quit saying, "Cool, baby."
Yeah, that one. I don't know why. It was when he said that. It didn't enrage me. It made me so uncomfortable.
Yeah, well, you thought that I was making fun of you or teasing you.
It was
something?
like it didn't. Yeah, it just didn't. It felt like when I was trying to say something, you'd be like, "Cool, babe," and I was like, "No, it's not. That's not what I'm trying to. I don't need that." Like, yeah, it was so hard, and
but it took a long time, and I kept doing it not because I didn't. That was mostly I didn't understand why it was.
Yeah.
Anyway,
for sure.
Whatever. We're a perfect couple. Don't worry about it. One of my favorite things to do is just hold an expression, and it's just hard because of my weird experimental theater experience or what have you, that I enjoy seeing how long I can hold an expression, especially if it's one that feels unfamiliar to my face. from inside my face.
Yeah, that's really hard for me because I am like, what are you doing? And you don't move. And I'm like, nope, I don't understand. Something's wrong. And
I'm
you're
not
just
saying
like,
it's normal or
and then you'll
rational.
just say nothing. Sometimes I just like to make a face. And I'm like, I don't know. It's very tough for me to, I don't enjoy that.
But even a broken clock is right.
Yeah, right.
Twice a year.
Twice a year. Yep. That's exactly the same. But
Every 100 and...
I will say you were holding the expression and not staring at me the whole time.
That's true.
So that is one exception. Like you weren't just looking at me with the expression. That's where the confusion starts. If you're just
That's fair.
staring at me with a solid expression, I'm like, you're
Fellas.
trying to tell me something and I don't understand what it is. But if you're just doing a thing with an expression, I think that you're doing a bit and I will understand it. So maybe that's something to internalize. You fucking broken clock. Anyway, I was thinking about the fact that this is like, I don't want to say it's a boomer thing because it's not quite, but this film is a great example of like things that don't happen anymore. Not the whistleblowing thing, but literally how she ended up becoming who she was.
Right.
No training, all this shit. She just walked in and was like, I need a job. You
Yeah,
need to
I know,
hire me.
yeah.
And like that has happened. And that absolutely used to happen. And granted, also just this took place in 1993.
Okay,
Like
yeah,
it
I wasn't
started
sure.
in 1993. Yeah.
I wasn't sure when it was supposed to be... Well,
Yeah. Well, yeah.
I figured it didn't matter if the movie was trying to be set in the past or not, but yeah, I didn't know.
Right. I don't know if the movie was actually trying to be set anytime,
Right.
but the actual events took place. They started in 1993, and then
Which
it
is
was like,
basically the 1960s.
but it's
The long 1960s.
they didn't like how they're like 9 months later. It was 3 years before they ended up getting like
The arbitration or whatever.
where they like got like when the ruling happened. It was 1996 when that
Christ.
happened, right? Also it was 333 million that they got. And the law firm got like 130 million. And I'm like, that feels like more than 40%.
And then the Jensen's got $5 million?
Right. I'm like, what? That's it? Like, that's crazy, but whatever. Also, Erin Brockovich got $2.5 million, not $2 million. But like in 1996,
Yeah.
that's crazy for, that'd be a lot.
Well, I understand her desperation and need to make a film of her life then.
She apparently sold
Just like
the rights.
Patch Adams.
She apparently sold the rights for like $100,000. That's it. So, yeah,
Okay.
she won money grubby, honey.
Bottle rubbies.
No, but yeah, that sort of phenomenon, like that's, that was something that was happening in like the 80s and 90s kind of. There was like,
What?
if you were confident enough or if you like went in and you did things.
I would, you know what I thought of? I'm not saying, it's a different movie and it's not true, but,
Yeah.
well, maybe less true. To Die For?
Yeah. No, but that's exactly what it's like. If you showed initiative, there were a lot of things that you were able to do, but now that's absolutely not the case because, like, I mean, I hate to say
I'm
this
sure
'cause
there's
not trying to-
cracks that you can
Well,
sneak
I'm not
between, but
I'm not trying to say this in a way that sounds like I think people that go to college are stupid or something like that, but college was pushed on a lot of people
oh yeah,
for essentially no reason. And so now like it way back when, like
like
if you
30
had
years.
if you had a college, like having a college degree was a big deal. And now it's like you throw a nickel and everyone's got a degree.
yeah.
And so but it didn't like make the market better. It made it more difficult because now
More
anyone,
gatekeepy.
and now everyone has a degree. So if you don't have one, then it's like, oh, you're not going to do anything. Like,
yeah, when I was talking to Machoda last, shout out, hey buddy, he said I can't remember if he read something or what his source was, but he said that he got the sense there was sort of that's starting to at least go away to a certain extent.
Yeah, because I think some of it is like a lot of people were like sold this idea that a college degree is going to set you up
Definitely
for
true
life.
For people my age.
Right. Exactly. And I think even, people my age, it was like, oh, if you don't go to college, like what are you going to do? Like there's no way that you could ever have anything in your life. Like and like whatever, okay, cool, but that idea is now like
clearly bogus.
Right. And all people have is like tons of debt.
Yep.
That they can't swim out of, and they're drowning and they're not getting jobs.
Right.
And so they're like, wait, what? And so I think it seems to be something where, people, but there's still that mentality of like, well, it's just something you have to do. Like, that's what people would tell me. Like, this was a thing that, like, people would tell me that I needed to go to college. And I'd be like, why? And they'd be like, you need the life experience. And I was like, that's not a reason to go to college.
Paying a lot of fucking money?
Everyone told me that. Everyone told me that the reason why I needed to go to college was because I needed life experience. And I was like, I don't think that's a good reason to go into severe debt.
Yeah.
Is to have life experience. Or like, it's just something that you're supposed to do. And I was like, I don't think that makes sense. I was like,
for to generation before boomers, the greatest generation, or even into boomers a little bit, like it was going into the military.
Yeah.
For men, at least.
Yeah.
Usually, it was like, you get to see the world. You get 3.
Right.
Was it 3? What did they say about prison?
I don't know.
Anyway, it's
right.
It's just something you do.
Right. And it's just like, it was always something where like,
and when you get out, it's like a good thing to have in your background.
Exactly.
Like people will hire you because
right, exactly. But like this movie, like, she doesn't have a background in this stuff, and like it is like something that was happening then, where it was something that if you were good enough at something, and I'm not saying it can't happen now, but like there is sort of a mentality because of shit like this, that this is a plausible thing. And like I was always told by people who were just on the cusp of this kind of thing, that all you had to do was like walk into a place and say that you wanted a job and people would hire you. And I'd be like, oh, you've never.
Come on, as recent as a couple years ago, I got told like, after you apply to a place, call.
Absolutely not. A reason why I refuse to do that is because that I would hate that if I was hiring someone. 2.
Yes, I can speak from experience that
I know
I was a hiring manager for a short time, and no, that doesn't help.
I've been that person. I've been someone in charge of hiring people. Right. No one wants you to call them.
No.
And 2, I was working at a place and someone said, if you apply for a job and you call me before I call you, they're like, I'm automatically throwing your stuff away.
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh yeah, I'm not doing that. I will not be doing that. And you could be like, well, not everyone's like that. Right.
Exactly.
And not everyone is
the other way either.
Exactly. Like it's not a guarantee of shit. And if you really wanted that job so you're calling and you're like, I'm just calling to make sure that you remember me. Like, guess what? You may never get that job.
Also, we're talking about like retail positions or like middle fucking management positions. No.
Right. They'll be like, and there's so much bullshit. Because this is another thing that this movie sort of does.
Yeah.
Or that this is, I don't want to say the movie because it's a real story. So like this really happened. But like what this story does is like implies that like you can start at the very bottom.
Yeah.
And then you can get, all the way to the top if you just work hard enough. And like
it's perseverance porn to a certain extent.
Absolutely. Like it's purge. Yeah, it's the idea that like if you work hard enough, you're just going to get rewarded, and so it's worth it, you know. And yes, I agree. I agree that you should not like you know, if you're enjoying, like, you should work hard on the things that you want to do. I'm not saying you shouldn't, but like also like if like I think that this is not a normal job kind of situation. Like this is something where this is.
And also, if you were someone else, you know, there's no guarantee. She could have got herself killed in any step of the way.
Right. Exactly.
You know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Right. And that's the thing.
I'm not even talking about PG&E. I'm talking about.
Oh yeah.
Partners.
Yeah.
Co-workers, you know, like
yeah.
To these certain, I do appreciate that they kind of show her being ungovernable, you know, as they say, you know, like there's a lot of memes that are like be ungovernable.
Yeah.
You know, like, and it's a dog carrying its own leash or whatever.
Right.
But I do appreciate that she's just like uncompromising.
Yeah.
Demanding that she get compensated.
Right.
But again, that's not going to work in every circumstance, and it's potentially irresponsible to make it look like that's something you can do. I'm not saying, you know, I'm sure real life Erin Brockovich probably got plenty of death threats and whatever.
Oh yeah,
from whom, you know, tons of people.
Speaking of, she was like, after the movie came out, if it's what I think it is, after the movie came out, George and an ex-husband of hers tried to blackmail her for a bunch of money, and they ended up getting arrested for like threatening her with like a bunch of, they were like gonna like accuse her of being like an unfit parent or something like that, and they recorded like a phone call. Like she called the police and they ended up recording a phone call where they were saying all this shit and they got arrested and shit. I just wanted to, and this isn't to like trash Erin Brockovich or say like anything like that. It's just like this movie perpetuates the idea that like if you work hard enough that people will see your hard work and they will reward you. And sometimes that can be true, but it's more the exception to the rule. Like if you work hard, people want you. That's why it's a people will exploit you. That's really what it is. Like working hard just means they're also like, you know, a lot of the people in the movie were hard workers and they ended up getting fucking poisoned by chromium.
I know.
And people like who, you know, like fucking what's his name? Who we love, who said his cousin died because
Tracy Hickey or whatever.
Who his cousin died because, I mean, the character obviously his cousin died because he was working at the plant and like dealing with chemicals, and he ended up dying at 41 of like, you know, from complications from all kinds of sicknesses from working on this plant. Like that's another point, you know, of like these people were also working hard and they got killed and poisoned and sick from it.
My cousin passed away yesterday. He had kidney tumors, no colon. His intestines were eaten away. 41 years old. I remember seeing him over at the plant. He'd be cleaning the cooling towers, wearing one of those, what do you call them?
A mask?
Yeah, doctor's masks. And it'd be soaked in red from the nosebleeds.
Also, the real Erin Brockovich was sick. Like in the movie, it showed her being sick, and they just like imply that it's the flu. And I was like, obviously, like while it was happening, I was like, oh my god, she needs to go to the doctor because it has to be like it's got to be poisoning. And I was like, it has to be poisoning from chromium. Like she's at these people's houses like all the time. She's like drinking their fucking iced tea like constantly, and so it that never comes up in the movie. And then I read in the trivia that like Erin Brockovich literally got sick from it was chromium poisoning, but they didn't put it in the movie because they didn't want people to think of her as terminally ill and like didn't want her to be a martyr for the cause. And I was like, what the fuck? That literally happened. You're not
Well, that's also
martyring
like
a character. That's not what's
why
happening.
didn't you want her to be a martyr for the cause?
Right, right. Like you don't want her to be.
Usually, when you say that, that's because you don't want, because martyrs. The danger with creating martyrs,
Yeah.
is that empowers a movement,
Right. Exactly.
or it, like gives people something to.
Or maybe he said he didn't want her to seem like a martyr or something. But I'm like, a martyr is someone who dies. Like someone who martyrs themselves. They're not
Yeah.
just like still alive and kicking. Like she got better. I mean, like, yes, there's probably complications that can arise from it. But like, it didn't happen. What the fuck? Like what?
Well, and I just recently watched a video about a movie I had no idea existed called How to Blow Up a Pipeline.
Oh, yeah.
So, and this is, from a quote Marxist perspective, well, whatever that means.
Yeah.
Sure, that's why I watched it, but anyway, whatever. Okay, so the film depicts a group of unconnected young people who get together, who have read. There is a book called How to Blow Up a Pipeline, which does not give you practical. It's not a practical guide. It's just about how the environmental movement needs to probably to get anything done, because nothing has worked so far. Start destroying property.
Yeah.
And intervening and causing disturbances to business as usual.
Yeah.
Because that's how protests work.
Right.
And that's the only way anything gets done.
Correct.
Sorry,
pacifists.
I mean, go vote as hard as you want, but...
right, yeah. Vote for change.
But yeah, so the book has no practical advice on how to build bombs or anything like that.
Yeah.
Okay, so they make a movie with the same title, and the characters read it in this universe, and they're not. I don't know. I haven't seen the actual film, but they're not connected to any long-standing movement. What's depicted in the film, as far as like the film does depict building explosives in a very irresponsible way, and ways that would likely get people injured, at least, if not killed.
Yeah.
And, like, they interact with an FBI informant and trust them and pull off blowing up this thing. But it's unconnected to anything else, and they get away with it. And it's a similar thing here in that, like, there's so many of these movies as part of what I was,
right,
like, connecting back to with China Syndrome, is that it's just this, one company being bad.
Right.
And one person is able to make a difference. And obviously that can happen.
Correct.
But
yeah.
It's one thing is that it's cathartic to see it as an audience. You're like, oh, okay, well, that's not me.
Right.
Other people out here, someone will do that fight.
Yeah, for sure.
And it'll work.
Yeah, right. I'm absolved.
Yeah.
The interesting thing about the real Erin Brockovich is that she's still doing a lot of this work. Like, it's not like she had a movie made about her and then suddenly was like, I'm going to do media. I mean, she does media stuff, but it's all in relation to, like,
whatever case she's
anti-pollution and shit like that. And so she...
I mean, the movie does end with her already moving on to it.
Right.
Already.
Yeah.
3 years later or whatever. Moving on to.
Yeah, she was... they've had, I think, multiple cases against PG&E in different areas. Nothing quite as big as the Hinkman or whatever it was. Hinkley. Because that's like the largest settlement that's like ever happened or something like that at the time.
PG&E, if you haven't seen the film or not from California, Pacific Gas and Electric.
And just to, again, if you haven't seen the movie, so the film is basically about Erin Brockovich, who is a woman she's got 3 kids. She's like a single mom who works too hard,
Try that in a small town.
It's the theme song. It's the theme song to Reba.
Oh, God. My mistake.
And
Why she work too hard? She needs to chill out.
Girl, you need to relax. So she basically is like trying to get work, trying to get a job. She ends up in an accident that causes some pain for her, and like she has to have like surgery and stuff like that, and then she hires a lawyer.
She gets hit by a car.
Yeah, she gets hit by a car. Yeah, that's the accident that I meant. Like, and she hires a lawyer who ends up losing her case against the person that hit her, and she's like doesn't have work, she doesn't have a job, and he's not answering any of her phone calls. So she just goes to his job and basically says, like, you need to hire me because I have nothing else. And he's like, this isn't a good idea. And she's like, look, if it doesn't work out, you can fire me. I just need a job. And so she's working there for a while, and she ends up getting this...
Being Snoopy.
No. She ends up... He, like, asks her to, like... He's doing a pro bono case. Basically what happens is he's working out a real estate whatever, like, and he's doing it pro bono, and she's looking through the file to like, like get it, to like start the case or whatever, and she sees that there's like
toxicology reports.
Yeah, there's like toxicology reports and
doctors,
medical,
medical
records and shit, and she's like, why? And she's like very stuck on it, and she doesn't understand because like it's a lot of like, like medical like issues and stuff like that. So she asks her boss, Ed, if she can investigate it more before. She was like, I just feel like
while he's doing phone sex or something.
She's like, I feel like something's up, and I don't want to fuck this up. I don't want anything to be wrong with this case.
And then she disappears for a week.
Yeah, and then she basically goes to this town and she starts talking to a bunch of people and like working on it, and she comes back and she's been fired. And she's like, what the fuck? You fired me? And he was like, yeah, you like disappeared. And she was like, I was working on this case. And he was like, well, how was I supposed to know you just disappeared for a week? And she was like, what the fuck? Right. And so he ends up, like, one of the people that she talked to ends up like calling back and like giving him information that he's supposed to relay to her. So he does. Like, Ed comes by and he's like, hey,
she's at home, and
he's like, I don't know exactly what this is in reference to, but it's this. And she's like, cool, great, whatever.
Oh, from the toxicology guy, right?
Yeah, some professor or whatever.
What is he? Is he a toxicologist?
I can't remember. He's like a professor or something like that, or a doctor. I don't know. So he's like, what does this have to do with this like real estate thing that I'm doing? And so she like talks to him about this, and basically what it is this company PG&E is the reason why it had real estate. The reason why it's a real estate case is because they're offering her, like they were offering this family money.
Jensens.
Yeah, they're offering them money.
Mark Hagenbergler.
They're offering this family money, but it's like a really shitty amount. It's like $60,000 for their entire property. And the family that they're offering want compensation. They're like, we don't want to move. They're like, we don't want to move. So if they want it, they have to like pay us like a substantial amount to make it worth it to move. But in researching this stuff, she was like, why the fuck she was like, why are all these medical bills? And she was like, oh, because, I just wanted to keep everything together. And Julia Roberts, like Erin Brockovich is like, oh, yeah. Why are they in there though? Not like, she's like, I don't understand what this has to do with anything. And she was like, oh, because of all of her health issues.
I'm sorry. I just don't see why you're corresponding with PG&E about your medical problems in the first place.
Well, they paid for the doctor's visit.
They did.
You bet. Paid for a checkup for the whole family. And not like with insurance where you pay and a year goes by and maybe you see some money. They just took care of it, just like that. We never even saw a bill.
Wow. Why'd they do that?
Because of the chromium.
The what?
The chromium. Well, that's what kicked this whole thing off.
So she gets to digging and she finds out that they have chromium in the water. And the chromium that they told the people in the town or whatever that they were going to be using was not even remotely the same kind of chromium that they ended up actually using. And so the chromium that they did use, they didn't line, they use it to prevent rust.
It's in the water. It goes through the cooling towers.
Right. To prevent rust from in the pipes. But
but then they have these
what do you call it?
What did they call them?
Oh fuck. It's like off whatever, like it's like basically where you dump the residual.
Wastewater.
Yeah. But if you line them properly, then it's fine. Or
better.
Essentially, it's
it doesn't
not going to
leach into the water table.
They didn't line it with anything, so all of this chromium just leached into the ground and into the water, and it literally poisoned this entire town. So when Ed comes back and he's like, "What the fuck?" She starts explaining this stuff to him, and he's like, "Whoa!" So he's like, "Okay, we'll get them the money that they deserve." And so he hires her back, and she's like, she was like, "I have a ton of bills and I'm, in this shitty situation. So you need to give me a raise
or benefits too."
Yeah. And a raise and benefits. So he's like, "Fucking fine. Whatever." So she starts she starts really digging in, and then more people start coming up, and they realize after working with these families, they realize that it's more than it's not just a real estate deal that they're needing to do. They're needing to actually sue PG&E for all this damage that they've done. And it's basically kind of, there's not a lot I don't feel like there's a lot of legalese. I think they purposely do that because it's Erin
I feel like that was
Brockovich,
handled
right.
pretty well.
Right. And I think they did that because but I think it's it's really, what was interesting about it is that I think what's good about the character of Erin Brockovich, which I'm sure it's probably changed a little bit now. I don't know why I'm saying the character. She's a real person. But the way she's portrayed in the movie, I don't know how she is I don't know how this she actually is. But the reason I think, one of the reasons why it was so successful is because she wasn't a lawyer. She wasn't going to these people and saying things in a legalistic sort of way.
Yeah, right.
She was talking to them and she was asking them questions. And she was actually connecting with the people, not just getting information from them. She was getting information.
And they make a big deal in the later part of the movie once they hire the Peter Coyote and his aide or whatever on the aide, how bad at it the legal aid is, or whatever she is, paralegal.
Right.
It's unclear what her. I don't mean to diminish her credentials, right? I'm not trying to say she's dumb, but they have her going out there. You get a scene prior where one of the guys is a cattle farmer, and you see Brockovich walking as he's hosing down the cows or whatever, and she's walking in her
high heel,
her mules or her wedges or whatever, and the water's getting on him, and
she's just whatever.
And then you have another scene later where the legal aid's in the cow patty and in her heels and wobbling and okay,
but the thing is, she's trying to get it's a very literal, it's not even a metaphor, it's so direct. Yeah. What's happening is, in the scene, Erin Brockovich is following him around while he's working, and the legal aid or paralegal or whatever is trying to get him to come to her. It's so heavy-handed. You're like, I get it. Right. He needs to do all the work.
And so this is a thing I didn't like about the movie, and I think is a failing of it for the story because
Go off, Queen. Sorry.
Commander, you anticipated my denouement. And I thought the depiction of the the residents who are affected by this thing is decent. I don't think their portrayal, but they're not really characters.
Oh, also the reason why it's so realistic is because they used a bunch of like actual Hinkley people.
Oh, okay, awesome.
Yeah.
But it does stay in the realm of like you see her interacting mainly with Marg
Helgenberger.
Helgenberger.
I think it's Marge.
Is it Marge?
Marge Helgenberger.
I missed the Marge having an E at the end.
Well, maybe it's maybe it's Marg.
But I don't know. Anyway.
Maybe it is Marg. I don't know. Marg Helgenberger.
I'd say
Marjorie Helgenberger.
like, even her husband is not a character, right?
Yeah. Right.
There's a girl with a headscarf who's like, you've seen her picture every time there's any conflict in the other part of the world. You know what I mean? It's just like, she looks like ethnic war baby victim.
War baby? Yeah. Okay, it sounded like you said or baby, and I was like, is this a
anyway,
term?
Like, they're not given much.
Yeah.
And yet, at the same time, you get this thing of, Brockovich speaks their language and is one of them compared to... They go hard on the legal aid. Not even Peter Coyote or Ed. I don't know what she's picked up on. But anyway, like, that's really weird.
Well, she does go hard on Ed. She gives Ed shit all the time.
She does, yes. But the film does not show him, like... They have that one meeting where they're at the Jensen's house or whatever. And she's like, have a fucking cup of coffee, Ed.
Yeah.
And, I guess in the town hall or whatever meeting where he's like...
Yeah,
But...
She tells him he did good.
Like, it's really not... What my point being is told more than shown.
Okay.
And on top of that, I don't like that these people are just subjects. They're not really...
Yeah.
I can imagine a different movie doing it differently and where Ed would be less of a character.
Yeah.
And you got more time with the families, and I feel like that would be more sympathetic and... evocative.
Yeah.
You'd have more pathos or empathy or sympathy or whatever, like...
In the film, Ed says that he has diabetes.
Oh, that's right.
And in real life, he died of complications of diabetes.
Oh, fuck.
I know.
Sad.
I don't know when, but...
R.I.P. to a real one.
Interesting fact, though, the reason why, I guess, like... the Erin Brockovich's chiropractor talked to, like, whatever, like, someone's wife about Erin Brockovich was, like, talking about her. And that's how this whole thing happened, was that, like, basically someone was like, oh, yeah, this person that I, like, that's how the movie got made, was that, like...
Oh, okay.
Her chiropractor was just being a loudmouth.
Nice.
Oh, I was going to say something.
I just immediately pictured Danny Aiello. I'm not kidding. Not even on purpose.
I didn't picture him on purpose. Oh, man, I was going to say something. And I kind of forget what it is. No, it's fine.
Aiello. You got Aielled.
No, I was going to say, I was trying to say.
Secret star of the podcast, by the way. He's in so many movies that we watch him. Like,
what has he been in? He was in
Jacob's Ladder, The Pickup Artist.
Oh, yeah, The Professional. See?
He's in
Peter
almost
Coyote.
as many movies as Michael Keaton is that we've watched.
Peter Coyote was in...
Martin Donovan. Jagged Edge.
No one's in as many films as we watch as Martin Donovan. Just saying. And I make sure of that.
Fan base, get at us. Tell us. Somebody put together a spreadsheet.
I forgot Peter Cody was in
Jagged Edge.
but also was he was in Jagged Edge?
Yeah, he's the other lawyer.
Oh, Billie Jean. Legend of Billie Jean, right? He was like
fuck.
yeah.
Is he dude's dad? No, who is he?
He's like the cop.
Oh, that's right. That's good. That's a good role for him.
He's
I know he's
so-
always lawyers.
He's so like there's something about him. His like voice, the way he says things, the shape of his mouth and his I don't know, just the way his voice sounds.
Do
He's
something
so
to your
fucking hot.
downstairs.
Yes, I
He's
don't
got
know.
so much ear. That's what I said.
I get it, but I feel like I have
I don't
so
think he's
little ear.
I'm not saying he's unattractive, but
I have so little ear that it's just
yeah, that's fair. You see a recent picture of him though?
no. Don't do it to me. He's hot and Erin Brockovich. Hurt my feelings. Is it?
20 years ago.
He was. What is it? Is he now only an ear?
Pretty much.
All ear. No teeth.
He's all white now.
He's all white. Is
Oh, wait.
man. I was gonna say something. I don't remember what it was. Fuck.
You'll be shocked. I think the person who plays the legal aid is paralegal is hot.
Oh wow! I never would have guessed
I
that.
know. I feel bad for whoever
That's why
was
you were
cast in
going.
that role.
That's why you were going so hard on it because you would be down to clown with her fire crotch.
Choose violence.
It just sounds like you said choose violence.
That's my recommendation.
Oh, I was gonna say something. Oh fuck.
I hated
I guess-
George.
Yeah, George was a terrible character. George never, in real life, George never actually left. He was the person that she hired as a nanny. And he, yeah.
After they broke up?
Yeah, after they broke, she hired him as a nanny, and he worked the firm paid him to work as her nanny.
Right on.
So that wasn't real.
I really kept waiting for that to go much worse.
Oh God, I hated their dynamic so much. At first, I was like, whatever, who cares? You know, it was like a 90s or early aughts movie. You know, no one got romance between. I mean, no one ever does, but like romance between men and women set in the 90s, it's gonna be really sketch. But oh my God, he's just like so unforgivable. He just kept getting pissed that he like didn't have to do, like, he's like, I'm taking care of the kids and I'm cleaning your house for you and I get nothing and you're at work all day and you need to quit your job. And I'm like, don't give a shit about you.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. Like, it felt so arbitrary that it's like, guys, you don't have to put it in there. Like,
Yeah.
It just felt like, well, we got to have a love interest arc.
Yeah.
But then it was also not, the film didn't care about it.
Yeah.
It felt like,
I
you know what I
think it was
mean?
like, I think it was like because
Same with like her relationship to her kids. Like, it's so sad that she's missed her baby's first word.
I will say this though. I don't know what it is, but Julia Roberts has such a face for No, she does this thing and I think she does it so well. Like she deserved the Oscar for where when she's emotional, she's able to like get her face to like do this where she's just like I don't know, she does this thing where like
she has a very expressive face.
Right. She's able to like cry in a way that's like where she's like trying not to cry, but she's crying and she does that so fucking well and I love it. I'm such a sucker for it. Every single time she's like smiling, but like, you know, like her face is all red. I'm like, damn girl.
Yeah.
Fuck.
No.
Gets me. She's like her, like the way that her, like her mouth and her.
Yeah, she's got that big old mouth that does all kinds of contortions if she wants it to. I've come to appreciate her chops.
Yeah.
She's one of those people that I've always been sort of confused about her stardom. Mm-hmm. And again, this is not a critique of her at all.
No, yeah.
It's just one of those. What are the machinations of fame and celebrity?
Yeah,
and especially when we started to watch this, or like, I was like, she's not. It's like, and again, this is no shade. Like, she's not. I don't even think she's really conventionally attractive.
Right, that's what I was gonna say. I don't think she's unattractive by any means.
I mean, she's not Glenn Close.
Right. I don't think
it's weird to me that she ever is.
Yeah.
Again, fine actor, but like,
yeah.
a fucking Fatal Attraction, like, and she's supposed to be hot and sexy, and like, that's fine. I'm not saying she can't do that, but I'm like,
right, but it's not conventionally right. It's not who you would expect that role to go to.
Yeah,
and
I feel like that wouldn't
shaped,
happen now.
Right,
you would just have to have some generic blonde white woman,
right? Yeah.
And no disrespect to Erin Brockovich. No, but I mean, like some. Anyway, whatever.
Well, I mean, but it is interesting because the real Erin Brockovich is, and again, this is not. I do feel like she's more of a conventionally attractive person. Like
but also in a, like, not in a Hollywood way.
No, for sure. But it's super interesting because, like, yeah, Julia Roberts is someone that like you wouldn't really expect her to like, and I totally understand what you're saying. Like, I'm not saying she's unattractive or she's ugly or she's like a fuggo or whatever.
It's really not about her. It's about
it's like
why her over somebody else.
Well, it's interesting because she's a very good actor.
Yeah.
I enjoy her performances. I think that she does really great stuff. She makes really fascinating choices in her acting. She's able to like really hit you in the gut with some emotional shit. But like, it's so wild that like, I think she's an interesting looking person. I don't think she's unattractive. Right. I think she's pretty. But yeah, it's not something that you would go like, and there's no one else in Hollywood that really looks like her.
Right.
Which you could be like, that's why. No.
Well, her brother.
But like, I feel like even like Emma Roberts, like she doesn't, I don't think she looks like Emma Roberts. It's Eric's kid. They don't even look that much of a... You've seen her in Scream 4.
Okay.
She's the one that plays...
4 and 5, they're just children to me. I can't tell them apart.
Well, 5 and 6...
Sorry. Oh.
Are the last two. 4 is the one that happened between... 1, 2, and 3 happened in the 90s. And then 4 happened in like 2011.
Is that the one with Ghost Ulrich?
No. That's Scream 5.
Right.
Scream 4 is the one that introduces Kirby.
From Heroes?
Yeah. And then she's not in Scream 5.
Because she was off the grid.
Yeah. And then she's in Scream 6. So, yeah. Anyway, it's just not... Yeah, like, she's not someone that you would expect to see. But, like, so many people are, like, very conventionally attractive and very, like... Even if you don't want to say,
I just feel like she would like when she's. I mean, her career goes back.
Oh yeah, to the
deep
80s.
into the 80s, but like I remember, like I guess after Pretty Woman is when she really fucking.
Oh yeah.
Skyrocketed, and everybody was like, "Oh my gosh!" I just feel like she was drooled over, like.
Yeah.
Like Angelina Jolie or even Sandy Bullock.
Yeah, which
Sandy B.
I saw, like...
Which, again, it's not about her. It's about the industry and what we... beauty standards and what the fuck is Hollywood.
Yeah, I don't...
And all of it.
It's about not... Yeah. It's about not understanding where the line is between... Like, because it's like you have to be so fucking specifically a certain way, and then someone random will come up and you're like, what the fuck? This is against the rules a little bit. But Sandra Bullock is another one that, like, I feel like she's someone that has and again, this is not anything negative. I think Sandra Bullock's really pretty, but she's got a very, like, masculine, like, look about her. Like, she's got very strong, like...
She looks like Michael Jackson.
She's got very strong features, and people, like, again, it's one of those things that, like, I think it's like the 90s were just something,
I guess.
Because I feel like now it would just be like, yeah, I don't know. It would be so focused on, like, they would focus on, like, what's different about her
Yeah.
which is a thing that I hate. What's different about this actor? They have a crooked
Who was
nose.
that thing like a year ago when it was like so and so looking this good at 30? Remember?
Yeah. I don't remember who it was though. Yeah. Also, like, I don't fucking Sydney Sweeney. She's on Euphoria.
Oh.
And she was in the first season of White Lotus.
Was she the
She
white
was
girl?
the teenager. And like she said something like how she like is not conventionally attractive or something like that. And people are like, girl.
Yeah.
Like how like she's all tits. Like she's made of boobs. She has
at
like
least 60 pounds.
Yeah,
probably.
she's like 75 and a half pounds. 15 and a half of those are just her boobs. And then she just looks like a white girl. And people are like, no, she's like, casting directors told me I wasn't pretty enough to get cast and stuff. And people were like, no, I don't think they're like, you didn't struggle. Also,
Remember that thing with Winona Ryder and David Harbour where they were on like one of those GQ or
yeah
things like that, and she's like, yeah, people didn't like me, and he's like, or
no,
like
casting directors were really fucking mean to her.
Right.
That's so fucking psychotic. But this is the thing though, casting directors are psychos.
Yes.
And especially like men talking to women or like women internalizing that like toxic, that misogynistic toxicity.
And the earlier you start acting or being in that industry, of course
Right. If you're like 15 and you're starting to develop a figure, they're going to be like, here's all the problem areas that you need to deal with now. Like, oh my God, I can't imagine. This is the thing where like I think about how I don't know why. Okay, so I love movies. I love watching shit. I love the whole thing, but I don't like the industry.
No.
Like, I don't like the Hollywood side of everything. It's very confusing. I don't know why people want to be famous. I don't understand, like, the whole paparazzi. I don't understand any of it. All of that whole, like, I would not want to, like, I could not function in that way. But, like, I love and I would love to be a part of, I mean, you know, fantasy-wise, you know, like, writing or a movie or, like, the process of creating a film. That would be so cool. But, like, I don't want to do it I want to do it in the cool Hal Hartley way.
Yeah, right.
Not in a movie like I want to do something artistic and be cool if people saw it. That's the aspect that I think is cool. But like I don't know why anybody would want to be like famous.
No.
And why anybody would want to like because you're opening yourself up to just like the most disgusting.
Yeah. Harvey Weinstein's.
Yeah. Would you recommend?
Soft recommend, yeah. Having never seen it, you know, the facts of the story are interesting.
Yeah.
I thought Julia Roberts does a great job.
Yeah.
As always, you know.
Right, yeah.
I enjoyed Albert Finney.
Yeah.
What else? Always love to see Tracy Hickey or whatever his name is. Let me double check.
Oh, that's what I remember what I was going to say. When I lived in Vegas, there was some, I don't know, they were talking, I think it was Vegas. They were talking, yeah, I'm pretty sure.
And Conchata Ferrell.
Yeah. R.I.P.
Oh.
But there was, like, I don't know, some radio program that I was listening to interviewed her. And she was talking about how, like, because, like, she says fuck a lot and she curses and she's a very, you know, foul-mouthed person or whatever. And I just remember that she said one of the reasons why she does that is because it's a universal language.
Yeah.
She was like, maybe, she's like,
Tracy
you might.
Walter.
Tracy Walter. She's like, you might not, she was like, even if you know, someone's speaking a language that you're not that familiar with, she's like, motherfucker is gonna, you know, everyone knows what that means. You know, she's like, it's an easy, you know, she's like, it's an easy way to like bridge the gap between a lot of, different like classes and,
Absolutely.
Yeah, she's
And
like,
that's the thing I do appreciate about the movie. She does do that a
Yeah.
lot, and everybody's like trying to like
right.
calm her down or like bring her out of the earshot of other people.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
she's
yeah.
like, no,
Yeah. Right.
and like, why be calm? No, fuck that.
Right.
Let's-
And I think, I don't want to say like, that, because I do think that that's like a representation of her as a person, and it might be dramatized for the film, but I do
Right.
think it is an important thing to remember that like, no, you don't get things done when you're quiet and nice and gentle, and you're not. And also the scene where she's like collecting samples everywhere.
Oh yeah.
And she's like legitimately like going down into wells and shit.
Cisterns
And,
and-
yeah, she's just doing all kinds of shit. And like, I mean, honestly, putting herself into danger. And she's, collecting all this shit. And people are like, she's like, some guys are like running after her, and she's like, like, she's like, thanks, bye. Like, that's like, she's not playing, well, I don't want to say playing fair, but she's not like, they're like, I fucking hate this one, but like women who behave rarely make history. It's like essentially, I'm not saying it's like only women or like,
Right.
and obviously, yes, she's a white woman. So there you have,
Yes.
you have that. But there is this like idea that like the more polite you are, the more professional you are, the more you'll get. And this movie essentially is a great example of where that is bullshit. And also this is a movie that really does sort of show you what a joke professionalism is, right?
Yes.
Because at no point is she portrayed as not taking her job seriously. At no point is she portrayed about half-assing anything. And she literally gets fired because she's working so hard that they think that she has like up and left. They
Right.
think that she's irresponsible.
Right.
And so it's like she's literally working overtime and working super hard and trying to do everything she can. And there's nothing unprofessional about her behavior. Why? Because she has cleavage.
Right.
Like there's absolutely no reason that you should look at her and think that there's something. And I think it's a little bit like, I think the movie maybe doesn't do the greatest job, and maybe the story in general and the way people choose to tell it doesn't do a great job of like saying, yeah, the reason why she's able to get this shit done is because those things don't matter to the work that you do.
Right.
Like it's saying like she got it done because she is, so different. And it's like, yes, but she's different because she's not adhering to professionalism.
Right.
She's not adhering to the rules and the reason. And it's not like, this is something that would have never happened without her, truly, not because she literally got fired because she was over like trying to figure out what was going on with this. And so like, that shows like the idea of professionalism would be her not doing those things.
Right.
It's actively flying in the face of the idea of professionalism.
And like, they don't go too hard on it, for better and worse. Like I think they could have gone. I'm glad they didn't go harder in a certain way, but I do appreciate they show the shit she gets from coworkers.
Yeah.
And that it's mostly other women.
Yes. Yeah.
Like again, I think that could have been handled.
I think it was handled. I think it was a little
finesse,
heavy-handed and a little like.
Right. But.
Right.
That shit's real.
Let me tell you something. 100% real. As someone who I like, women fucking hated me. Like people would. I remember one time I was at my job where I worked at a bank, and someone saw me in the hallway and literally turned in the opposite direction and went. And I was like, "What the fuck?" I would like walk. I lived really close to my job, and I would walk to and from work, and I would pass like someone that worked like 3 desks away from me, and she would literally like refuse to look in my direction. She would like walk on her lunch break, and she would literally like, I would be walking and I'd just be like, And she would literally go, and I'm like, you don't have. So it's like shit like that. Like, yeah, people, I don't know what the fuck it is. I don't know why. People fucking hate me. And I am someone, I say fuck a lot. I'm not going to be, I do a lot of the shit that she does in this movie. Like, I'm very much like that. And let me tell you something. It doesn't always get you a raise. Like, it doesn't always benefit in the way. And people will be like, you need to be more professional. And it's like, tell me what that means. Tell me what that means. Like, if I care about, like I said, I was doing a self-review. Like when you have like your yearly review, you have to do like a self-review.
Okay.
And that gets sent to your boss, and then your boss tells you if you're right.
Perfect system.
I said shit. I said the word shit in mine. Oh. And they had to send a company-wide memo to everyone to say, you're not allowed to curse in your fucking self-review. And I was like, and they were like, yeah, you're not supposed to. And I was like, I don't. They're like, because that doesn't just get sent. That gets sent to like, it goes up the chain.
So what?
Right. And I was like, okay. And I was like, it's not like like basically it's like you say your review and then that gets your boss's review of that. Like your boss looks at it and then they give their review and then their boss looks at their review of your review. And I think it just, so they're like, yeah, you're not supposed to do that. And I was like, what the fuck? Who gives a shit? This isn't going out to a fucking customer.
Also,
like,
I
why?
promise you, your boss's boss is not reading that shit.
Right. Well, not only are they not reading it, they don't give a shit.
Correct.
And I mean, obviously somebody cared because they had to send out a company-wide memo. I'm like, what the fuck? Who cares? I was like, I said shit. I didn't say lick my asshole.
When I worked at our very liberal white food co-op, someone who was a supervisor, but not this person's direct supervisor, like, this is someone we both know who has is very top heavy, and this supervisor told them that they needed to wear more appropriate clothing, and they weren't wearing anything like especially revealing. It's just that there's a lot there.
Yeah.
And of course, this person was also a cis woman.
Right. Like
not even in like a completely different department.
Yeah. Yeah. No, the same exact thing happened when I remember, there's so many things. Like someone I know was told, because they have tattoos.
Oh, yeah,
now,
right.
Tattoos that they had when they were not only hired, but promoted, or like when they were hired to the job at first, and then they were like
given a different job,
laterally like transferred to a different department. Then they were they applied for a different job and were given that. And then they were promoted within that job. And when they got promoted within that job, they were told that they needed to, at all times, because they were salaried, so that meant that
you're always on the clock.
That they are always on the clock.
Always
that
representing.
If they go out, they have to make sure that their arms are always covered so that no one sees their tattoos. And people were like, you can't do that. Like, if you hire someone with those tattoos, and this is the thing, this person did not like shy away from showing their arms. They showed their arms all the time.
Yeah.
And because
it's never been an issue before.
It was never a fucking issue.
Yeah.
It's insane. Anyway.
Here's a fun one. I got told when I worked at a Whole Foods for, well, 2 different Whole Foods, but I brought in food from like In-N-Out Burger or something. And I was vegetarian, so it was like, I had no meat on it. Yeah. And I was just sat in the dining area, the public dining area, and some manager came over and was like, you can't eat that here. And I'm like, why? And they're like, because it's not
health food.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I'm like, but there's no meat on it. And they're like, doesn't matter.
Oh my God. What the fuck?
We can have people seeing our employees eat hamburgers.
Fast
food.
Fucking, I was once called into my manager's office to be told that my Facebook cover photos were offensive and that I needed to do something about them so that I didn't get into trouble. And I was like, what do I need to do? And they were like,
something.
Yeah, they were trying to work, like HR like my cover photos on Facebook were offensive, quote unquote, to other people, and they literally showed me where in the fucking manual, like the what is it called?
Employee manual?
Yeah, whatever.
Handbook?
Yeah, where you're not allowed to do something that offends someone who works for the bank or who is a customer. Mm-hmm. So like if someone says that you've done something that offends them, you can basically be fired. And I was like that's such a broad thing. I'm like, right, I'm offended by so many things here, like that I never could ever tell someone. And I was livid. When I get mad, like I have a hard time vocalizing things, not because I mean, a little bit I'm worried I'm going to cry because I do cry when I'm upset, but because I don't think I'm going to be able to be nice.
Right.
I think I'm going to say something that's going to get me in trouble. So I don't always, like, if I'm mad and I'm not talking.
To be professional.
Right. Well, no, I say that, I mean, like, I don't know how I'm not going to be mean to this person. No, not even like, I don't even mean professional. I mean, like, if I'm mad enough, I'm going to make someone cry kind of shit. Like, I'm going to be mean to them. And I'm like, I don't always have a guarantee that I'm not going to, you know, just be like, you're fucking ugly and you're talking to me that way. Right. Like, there's no reason, you know, it's just like, I have to be careful.
It's going to get personal.
Yeah, exactly. It's going to get personal. And I'm like, I can't talk. So I was very upset. But they were like.
She's like, you have shitty shoes, bitch. Or whatever.
She's like, you have two wrong feet and ugly fucking shoes.
Okay, look, I think we got off on the wrong foot here. That's all you got, lady. 2 wrong feet and fucking ugly shoes.
But yeah, I was told that like my profile pictures and my cover photos were offensive. And I was like, so I need you to tell me clearly. You're asking me to delete them. And they were like, no, just make it so that no one can see them. And I was like, fucking shit. I was like, ooh, so pissed. I was so fucking pissed about that. You can't make them. They're public. Like you can't make your cover photo and profile photo not viewable to the public. So what I did was you can do a thing where you limit the audience of all previous posts. Oh. So you like anyone that isn't a friend, like even if you have a public post or something that's public, that's been, you know, publicly, if you limit the audience, then no one will see anything past like the date that you, I don't know how to describe it very well. Anyway, I will say I would also recommend this, what do you say? Soft recommend? Is that what you said? Mm-hmm. I think I enjoy things. I enjoy like procedural thing. I enjoy things where you get to see like investigations and things like that. And you know, so I enjoyed it, if nothing else for that reason. And I think if you like stuff like that, you'll definitely like this. And it's a true story. And I think it's important to look at and understand that these things are very real and these things happen. And I think it's important to look at these things in regard to the way the world is right now. And like when you look at corporations and how they don't actually care about people, they don't care who they're hurting. Oh no. They'll lie about it. They don't care. And as long as they don't have quote unquote, as long as there's no quote unquote proof, they can continue doing this. So I think this is a good thing to watch if you're like, oh, I don't know if, what's it called? It used to get called global warming. What's it called now?
Climate change?
Climate change. Thank you. Fuck. Like climate change is blah, 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 blah. But like oil companies and all these people, like they're a huge proponent of these horrible things that are happening. And like, oil spills and all of these things that are going on, like they keep happening, like pipelines and like all this shit going on.
Always fail. They always leak.
100%.
They always do contamination.
Yes. And like and look at fucking Flint, Michigan. Mm-hmm. Like they still have contaminated water. It's been like
how many years?
10? 15, something like that. Like, but I don't know. It's been so long. It's been it's in the teens now, I think. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, I don't know.
But it's been so long and they still don't have clean water. And it's like, this is a place in the U.S.
Yeah.
It's not one building in a town. It's an entire town in the U.S. And there's no one is doing anything because it would quote unquote be too expensive to like replace things. So they're letting these people be continually poisoned over and over and over again. And it's because it's not just dangerous to drink, it's also dangerous to touch your skin. It like causes like it's people can't bathe in the water. Like it's not just about not being able to drink the water safely because you could just be like, oh, well, you can filter it or you can get bottled water and then you're fine. But it's like, it's also harmful to come into contact with it. Like people can't bathe in this. Like it's toxic. Right. And this entire town, their water only consists of this. Like it's unlivable. And you could be like, move away, do this, do that. Yeah. People need money in order to do that. You have to pay for those kinds of things. And also why should have never happened in the first place? Like there's so many things that, it's like you could do this, you could do that. Yes. But it's too late to go back. You know what I'm saying? Like it's not something that you can just be like, just move away. I'm sure lots of people who were able to financially afford it have moved away.
Sure. Right.
Not everyone can do that. And I'm sure that people who could afford it also got their own water system shit in place, Like it's not, it's right. Anyway, whatever. I can talk about this forever. My point being, it's important to realize, I think this movie does a good job of telling you that like, it's like, and because it not only depicts how, because it is a true story. Like this isn't something that was made up. This isn't like, and it's from anything I read, it wasn't hyperbolized or anything like that.
Oh yeah.
This company didn't just poison this town. They actively lied to them about the poisoning of the town. Like they told them, not only did they tell them
specifically so they could have plausible deniability and not be sued.
Yes, because a year, I guess, like, I don't know if this is just California, but they said a year after you find out about said whatever it is, there's only a year between finding out about said issue that you're allowed to sue for it. So they were told that chromium existed, but they were told that a different type of chromium was in the water.
Right.
So technically, like I don't even know if they told them that was what was in the water. They just told them about the benefits of this different type of chromium. And
that's right. They said it was even good for them.
Yeah. And all this shit. And then they were left.
The doctors tell them
they sent them to specific doctors.
Their symptoms were unrelated. Right.
Well, that was another thing about the reason why the doctor bills were in the real estate thing is because PG&E paid for those doctors, and then those doctors gave results that were like, none of these health conditions are related to the chromium.
Right.
And so, and this is another reason why the people thought that they were fine, or like, not that they were fine, obviously they weren't, but that, it was
unrelated.
It was that it had nothing to do with the chromium in the water. So it's stuff like that where it's like you actively see these corporations like causing explicit harm and purposely doing that. Right.
It's unambiguous.
That's what I mean. And so that's something about the film that like I really appreciate, that they didn't sugarcoat any of that. No.
And she does get a threatening phone call.
Yeah, she does. And I want to say this, that this is every corporation.
Oh yeah.
This is every bank. This is every billion-dollar corporation that's out there. It actively helps with creating an atmosphere that pollutes. It creates an atmosphere because every bank is connected to oil. It's connected to pipelines. It's connected to like all of these things. It's not an accident. Like you don't get billions of dollars. And it doesn't matter if you're a person, quote unquote, or a corporation, quote unquote. If you have billions of dollars, you have actively caused harm to innumerable amounts of people.
Yeah.
Because there's no way for you to acquire that amount of wealth without the taking of something from someone else. There's no way to do it.
Yeah.
So I do love the part when they're like a $48 billion corporation or whatever. And he's like, wow.
Before you go off on some crusade, you might want to remember who it is you're dealing with here. PG&E is a $28 billion corporation.
$28 billion? I didn't know it was that much. Wow! 28 billion! Holy cow!
Can you believe that? That was so good.
I also like when he's like, fuck you, to her. He's like, or
Yeah.
she's like, why are you yelling at me? He's like, because I'm pissed off.
She's like, good. And he's like, fuck you.
Fuck you back.
And then he's like, I really hate you sometimes. He's so happy when he says it. I really enjoy when people deliver lines like that where you're like, you know that there's a little bit of...
I do kind of like their dynamic.
Yeah, same.
Ed and Erin Brockovich is...
I do, yeah.
It's not like something... It's not something you see very often.
Yeah. Well, I like when they're like yelling at each other and then Conchata Ferrell goes, lovers quarrel. And she's like, shut the fuck up. Like, because they are like, this is a thing where like when you have when you end up having like a close relationship to someone that you're not afraid to have like tough discussions with, people will be like, oh, something's going on. And it's like, no, it's just like you're working together. So it's just, they're not fucking, like, no, absolutely no sexual chemistry happening. Right. It's just that they're comfortable telling each other no. And people will get really weirded out by that.
Which is, you don't see that.
Yeah, right. Like, oh, you're telling your boss no? And it's like, calm down. Like, fucking calm down. Anyway, that's all I have to say.
Me too. Nipple belt.